Hello and welcome to the Damascus Encounter, a program where we share and discuss with very important personalities who have unique experiences after they encountered Jesus. Every man now has a story, and our stories are based on the experiences that we've had. You're traveling on a particular journey, and Jesus steps in and somehow redirects the course of our journey in life. My guest on the program today is a very special one. Someone who was raised, trained to be a priest, and then somehow had a turnaround, and we'll be listening to his story. So I welcome on the show today, Johnny Odeh. Johnny Odeh, welcome to the Damascus Encounter.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you share with us a little bit about your background? That is, give us an introduction into who Johnny Odeh is.
Okay, my name is Johnny. I came from a very large family. My father was a military man, and my mom was just a full-time housewife.
Okay.
I grew up among a lot of siblings. I have a lot of siblings. I happen to be the last son in the family. We are about 18 of my father's
18
children.
in all.
18 in all. And we were all raised as Catholics. My father wasn't a very active Christian. He wasn't so strong in the Catholic faith, but my mom was so strong and very, very active with every Catholic church activity. So we were all raised up. I was baptized as a child. I didn't even know when I was baptized. I was told, and then of course pictures were shown me when I was baptized. So I grew up basically among a lot of people, raised in a military barrack. I was born in Kaduna State in Nigeria, and then we traveled a lot as the military's will at the time.
Okay, so that's about your background. So now, your childhood days growing up, education-wise, how much of education did you have?
Yeah, my father was a disciplinarian, and then there was this very internal, unspoken competition amongst the children. So everybody had to be educated. So of course, I started from the primary school and then proceeded to the secondary school. Very brilliant, as at the time, so they said. So there was so much expectation from me. You know, as a last son, they wanted me to be a priest. And there were two options for me from my parents. I was either a lawyer or I was a priest. So the whole focus was priesthood. And then my upbringing, I was a bit more mature than my actual age because I related more with more mature people. And then I was very, very focused on God's word. I loved the church. I loved church activities. I loved to abstain from sinful things even as a child. So everybody felt, hey, this guy would be better off as a priest. And then as a child, my parents wanted to have more kids. And then they weren't having, even though we were that much in number. And then there was this man who was more like a spiritualist who told my father, you can't have another kid except you appease this young man. He has a strong spirit.
Okay.
And then my parents were like, appease him? Why? They said, yes. The man said, yes. You have to kill him a full chicken, make a full pot of pounded yam with good soup, and present to him, just him alone. He eats to his fill until he says he's fine, and then you ask him, can I eat? And he says, yes, nobody touches the food. And so my father, being one leg in and one leg out, wasn't sure of his Christian faith.
Christian
Yes.
thing.
So he proceeded and then he made that. They made the food, served me, and then they said, have you had enough? And then I said, yes.
So you had a whole chicken to yourself?
Yes, a whole chicken, and then maybe I ate out of it. I can't really remember. I'm not sure I even remember a thing about
How
that.
old were you at about this time?
I think I was about 3 years old, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, about 3 years old or two, thereabouts.
Okay.
So they proceeded, they did all that, and then I ate. But unfortunately, it was still what it was.
No more, no kids.
No kid
afterwards.
came afterwards. So
That's interesting.
they attempted, I think the one that was coming was a stillbirth. So it didn't really happen.
Oh.
So that was about it.
Interesting. So you had this tutelage and drive and mentoring to be a priest.
Yes.
And so you entered into
Yes, the
a
seminary.
seminary.
Yeah, after my secondary school, I started my spiritual year.
All right.
And then you will do the spiritual year before you proceed into another 4
Spiritual
years.
year is when you get to do what?
That's the first year. It's more like a remedial. It prepares you into what you're going to for a year.
Okay.
It's called the spiritual year. And then from there, you do another 4 years in philosophy. And then another 4 years in theology. It's more like the masters of it.
And that goes
You know.
for 4 years
Yes,
also.
yes, as
Okay.
well. So sometimes it's broken into two depending on what areas you're focusing. So you go into it, and then you're done with philosophy, proceed to theology, which is a higher level.
So the
of
first
study.
year, introductory or
Yes,
remedial.
remedial,
sort of,
that's our spiritual
and
year.
then you have 4 years.
Yes.
And another 4 years.
Yes, for
so
philosophy.
making 9 years in all.
Exactly.
So out of 9 years, how many years did you do?
I did my spiritual year. It's supposed to be my second year into theology before I had an encounter that somewhat, I had a lot of questions actually while in the seminary. A lot of issues I had with the Catholic Church as a whole. Like I get into the church and then I am made to bow before entering the church because there is a belief that there is a blessed sacrament that you have to bow to, which is the presence of God in the house. Or there is a crucifix in front of the altar that you have to bow to or genuflect when you get into the church. And I had a problem with that.
So the bowing down or having to acknowledge these images and stuff. So what exactly is that called? Is that the genuflecting?
Yeah, you genuflect with your knee. You go down with a knee. One is up and then you go down with that, or you just bow. And then I'm like, how do I bow to these things? No, the first thing is, the man who was making all these images for the church lived very close to us. We used to refer to him as Ali Gombe. He gets the clay, mixes them up, and then gets some cement, and then he builds the cast, makes everything, and then he's done, he paints, and then they take it to the church. And then I'm like, is that what we are going to be bowing to?
So at any point in time, were you taught in the priesthood that these images were real? So I'm just trying to look at why you felt, if I know who made this and I know where it's made from, why do I have to bow to these images?
First of all, the funny thing is you're taught everything the way the Bible says it.
Okay.
And then on the flip side, you are asked to do what you're taught in a different way.
Or what is contrary
what
to?
is contrary to what you're taught. That is, the action is different from the theory that you're taught in school. So you're taught that the second commandment, which is in the Bible, thou shalt not bow to other images. And then it's there in the Bible clearly written. But the time this image is presented to you, they tell you it is the image that represents God.
So you did ask questions?
Yes, I asked a lot of questions. A lot of debate in my class, to the point that I would raise up my hand and then my teacher wouldn't even acknowledge me. Because they felt I was argumentative, I was too inquisitive. I asked too many questions that Catholic wouldn't feel comfortable to respond to. So I was more like an antagonist.
Were you at any time considered a rebel that is not fit for the seminary?
Oh, definitely.
But in spite of all your questioning, you still continued in the seminary?
Yes, I continued with a lot of questions because I am a very, very inquisitive person. I wanted to know exactly what I was doing. Because I got in there, my mind was to go in there and be a great priest of God that would follow the Bible to the latter. So I read through number 1, I started having a problem with the third commandment. In the Catholic Church, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy is taught to you in the catechism as a third commandment.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading my Bible and then I'm seeing it as the fourth.
And was there any explanations for that when you asked?
There is no vivid explanation. They tell you one is married to the other, thou shalt not have graven images. And then it started dawning on me like, it looks like there is a deliberate act to remove the second one, which says, do not bow to images in heaven, on earth, beneath the sea. And I said, these are the things we do. I have seen my mom walk into a place they call the Miriam Shrine. And then she goes there, kneels down, she passes, she bows down, or she goes there, she prays right in front of this image. I had a problem with that. And then I said, this is the same thing. I can't do this thing. This thing is against what the Bible preaches. But you're convinced to believe that what you're looking at is not the image. You're looking at the person,
So there is a
behind
person
the image.
behind or a person in the image, and you just have to see that person and not the image.
And I said, well, with my eyes closed, I know who I'm worshiping. With my eyes closed, I know who I can bow to. I don't need an image in front of me to remind me that there is a God that I need to bow to. So most times I walk into the church, I'm walked right back out because I am refusing to genuflect or bow. And then I do this consistently and then I'm punished for it. Get to the toilet, you wash the toilet. Oh my God. Sometimes it's more like the toilets are prepared for those to be punished. So you have to get in there and then do the cleaning. So it was such a terrible punishment, but I never stopped.
Okay.
Kept on getting punished until whenever they felt like.
Kept on getting punished, yet you remained who you were, following your convictions, and you didn't change one bit.
I didn't.
We'll get to come back and talk some more with Johnny Odeh on his experience, the moment and time when he encountered Jesus, and what was the turning point for him on the Damascus encounter. Don't go away. We'll be back very shortly. Welcome back to the Damascus encounter. We have been sharing with Johnny Odeh his experiences and what he actually went through as a seminarian in the Catholic priesthood. And so, Johnny, welcome back on the show. You shared a lot about the experiences you had, how you were not convinced about doing things that were customary or traditional for every normal Catholic priest in training.
Yes.
And you got a lot of hard knocks for that.
Yes.
You asked a lot of questions and you almost was tagged a rebel,
yeah.
and stuff like that. But then, so it looks to me then that you didn't really enjoy the seminarian days for your training, yet you continued in it. So would you say that you had some cheerful moments, times that made being in the seminary very exciting, nothing to do with all the genuflecting, the rules that you were not comfortable with? Can you share some of those experiences?
Quite a lot.
Okay.
Quite a lot. You see, all of those inquisitions, all of those curiosity arose from the teachings I was getting from the priest.
Okay.
They will teach you the right thing. They will tell you what it is. But my problem was the practice.
Teach something else. Do
Yes,
something
and then
else.
something else. The same thing you're telling me from the Bible is not what we are doing. So that made me, because I entered the seminary very excited. I was going to fulfill the dream that I've always had. I wanted to worship God. I wanted to be a different kind of priest. And then getting there, I started seeing these things. But on the other side, I was very active, very popular in the Catholic Church. I was a good actor. I won several awards as an actor.
Okay.
I became a drama director. I was taken, even in the Catholic Youth Organization of Nigeria, where I was so famous. I used to act the nativity plays, Christmas story,
Okay.
and then the Easter drama. That's a Good Friday. I would act as Jesus, get crucified, thousands of people following in the lead. To the point that I walked on the street and then children would run down, parents would come down and, bow. Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus. And then I was wondering, I am not Jesus, but it seems like they are so eager to just worship something. And then on the street, people, if I walked on the street, you would see people running from their houses in my direction. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And then I became scared myself. It made me on Good Friday, after the whole drama, on Sunday, I would not go to church. Because as I'm coming to church, they have seen the resurrected Jesus. And then they will run to me. I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about parents.
Fully grown
Adults would walk up to me, bow, greet, kneel down and ask me to lay my hands and bless them.
And did you do all of that?
Well, in my ignorance, I would try not to embarrass a father who is kneeling down and then either touch the shoulder or the head, just for me to get through. But after that, I told myself, after every Good Friday, I wouldn't be in church on Sunday.
Because you were not comfortable.
I wasn't comfortable with that. Those were things I knew were wrong. So a lot of things happened. I was excited at the drama, the way crowd, the fame and everything, my scripting ability, my story writing, creating and developing good stories that would put on there. And trust me, some of those stories have even been made into movies today. And then I'm very glad that I learned some of those things there. And then my brain was kind of opened to questions. And then I just felt, at least these things I achieved here. Those parts made me very, very happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you, in all of this, your experience, you talked about your parents, your father, particularly wanting you to be a priest. When you had all those problems, all those little hitches and hiccups in the ministry, so to speak, or in training, did you report this to them? Did you feel like leaving the training to become a priest?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But here's the thing. The church is always right. So you dare not bring it, because even at home, I had a lot of arguments with them already about certain things in the church. My mom would never listen. She has a statement, I was born a Catholic, I will die a Catholic. It's a reigning, statement amongst Catholics. Okay. And then I will raise some things and then we'll argue. So there was no point coming to tell them this happened, this happened. I only told them, if this thing continued, I am not sure I'm comfortable with this. And even if I become a priest, this wouldn't happen in my church.
But they kept nudging or urging you to continue.
Continue. With time, you will blend in. You are just still young in it and all that. So.
Okay, so all of this went on and you had to do what you had to do.
Yes.
The church is always right. You believed you had a calling to be a priest and you moved on. Now, let's get to the crust of the matter. Talking about when and how, what constitutes the turning point for you and you felt repelled. And you said, from here on, no more. Do you want to share that?
Good. You see, while going along, all those things were already making me uncomfortable. I would love to dress in the cassock with my cincture around my waist, the sash across my neck, and all the cape that makes the priest look very hollow, kind of. Okay. I would love that. But behind this, what about salvation? What about me seeing myself doing what is contrary to what I read in the Bible? I saw all that. But there were some priests that I looked at as good priests who would uphold the right values, would pray with you. There was this mentor that I had.
Okay.
He's a big priest right now, till date. And he was a very good friend, good mentor. And then I looked at him like, this sure is a heaven's candidate. I looked so much upon him until one Friday evening. And then I was going to his house because we had a seminar to attend in a neighboring village. And then I was going with a couple behind me who were also coming for counseling.
Okay.
And then I walked into the sitting room and there he was. His cook, who was female, sitting right on his leg. In fact, in a very compromising position. Very, very compromising. Something very obscene.
And so you just decided to walk out of the priesthood?
The shock.
So you were shocked?
The shock was crazy. I was frozen. I was shaking. It was a sight I never expected. I was wondering, am I dreaming?
Did I really
Am I going to wake up? This is my friend. This is my mentor. Then what is going on? And then he calmed me down. Come in. Came in. Waited. The couple left. And then he started. Yeah, I know you saw me. And all the explanation, I couldn't understand. And then he said, you would not understand. This is what we face as humans. There is an age you attain where your body will naturally call for this thing. And then there is a moment you can't go on anymore. You will not understand because you are young. In fact, what you're doing now, how you want to be a good priest, you want to be blameless, and then you want to be so clean and chaste. I've had bigger dreams than you. But trust me, you will get to this point. And if you know it is not something you will do, I will tell you, make the decision today not to be a priest and to settle as a married man. Because trust me, there is nobody who has built this dream of, I'm going to be a good priest, I won't have, that has not fallen. Johnny, if you know you'll be devastated when you do this, then back out.
So he kind of told you straight on.
He told me the truth and I believed it.
Chosen to be a priest, you become a priest, you certainly will find yourself doing this.
Exactly.
And if you can't, you better leave now.
That was what he implied. And it was a truth. It was a truth like the truths I've been hearing from him until that Friday. And I believed everything he said. And from then on, with a lot of other things, not just that, he opened my eyes and then I started, normally I wouldn't pry to see who was doing it, but I just realized that these people were all doing it. As I speak to you today, there was a young man we got in together. He was already an ordained deacon. In the Catholic Church, once you are a deacon when you have like few months to your ordination as a priest.
Okay.
So not like our deacons that serve in church. The deacons are when you have graduated from the priesthood and you're ready to be ordained. In fact, you have less than a year before your ordination. You become a deacon. He was just almost there. And as I speak to you today, he is not a priest.
He opted out.
He was shoved out because he was caught with a lot of things we all planned we were not going to do. He wasn't even a priest. He started doing it already.
Okay.
And then that gave me a bit of comfort that at least I didn't wait till this moment to either get humiliated or disappoint my God or myself with all the hope that I had to become a good priest.
So there was still that sense of, I must hold on to God.
Yes.
I can't afford to disappoint God.
Yes.
And you held on to it, and rather than do this, you opted to leave.
I would rather not put myself in that kind of position, be married, and still worship God the way I want to. Rather than get there and then you find yourself doing that thing and continuously.
Very interesting. So that essentially was what marked the point at which you had to leave the seminary.
Yes.
And then you decided to be what?
From then on, I was so disappointed, and then I told myself I wasn't going to resume the next semester. And I just started a lot of things that I never even knew started coming to my head. And then even before I told my family I wasn't going back, I was leaving the Catholic Church, I was already looking out for what church to attend because I just needed to find myself in the right place.
But you took that decision.
I took that decision.
You told your parents. There was a little bit of pushback on it.
Yes.
But you were determined to go on.
Yes, I was determined. When they realized that, hey, I was out of the Catholic Church, my mom was devastated. She was famous because of me. Everybody knew her in church. Oh,
the mother of Jesus.
Yes, the mother of Jesus, Jesus' mom and all that. So she liked that feeling. She liked the feeling that her son was perceived in some sort of way because I was very active with the church. I joined the Legion of Mary. In fact, the quest started like I joined the Legion of Mary because I felt there I would be holier. Yes, Mariam devotees. But I saw that these people were channeling all their attention to Mary. As a matter of fact,
had problems with that
I had
also.
a problem with that. Mary had to intervene before you get to Jesus.
Okay, so let's come to talk about exactly what you did after you had to leave the seminary, and we get into what your eyes opened to and who eventually Johnny Odeh is today, that metamorphosed from that idea of leaving the seminary.